This passage that we just read, the Transfiguration, it's about at least three things that's worth our attending to. The first one is that Moses and Elijah, so the law and the prophets, spoke to him about what? The exodus he was about to go through in Jerusalem. So this is about helping to prepare him on this human side for his death, because the exodus was going to be the passion. And sometimes it happens in our spiritual life, and it certainly happened in mine, that before we are tested, before some temptation comes into our life, we find as we look back on our life that the Lord touched us in a special way to kind of prepare us for the trial that is ahead. Have you experienced that in your life? I have certainly experienced it in mine. The best prayer I ever had was before I lost my faith in God. And as I look back on my life, I said, you know, how compassionate, how tender of God to give me a really graced prayer before my childhood faith died and made room for an adult faith. A couple-year process. And that happens. Look back on your life. See that before you faced trial, the Lord somehow reached out and touched you and strengthened you. Secondly, because we have the voice of God, this is my beloved Son, this is my chosen one, it does affirm that this is the Word made flesh, the incarnation of Jesus Christ, which is the center of our faith. And then third, I would like to speak to you about what it means about us. Now, it's a universal experience, true of everybody I've ever met, that we all enter our adult lives wounded in some way. We all need some kind of healing. That's universal. And this passage says something about what we really are, what we need to be in tune with, something we need to appreciate about ourselves that is far from being evident. You see, in this passage, it says, Moses and Elijah appeared in glory. Well, they were not divine. They were human beings, appearing in glory. What does that mean? Well, I want to take you back to an experience that the Trappist monk Thomas Merton had. He wrote the book Conjectures of a Guilty Bystander because of the profound experience he had on 4th and Walnut Streets in Louisville, Kentucky, in the middle of the shopping district. God reached out and touched him and blew his mind apart in a wonderful way. This is what he said. I was suddenly overwhelmed with the realization that I loved all those people, that they were mine and I theirs, that we could not be alien to one another even though we were total strangers. It was like awaking from a dream of separateness. Everybody belongs to God. I happen to be made aware of it. There is no way of telling people that we are all walking around shining like the sun. At the center of our being is a point which belongs entirely to God, like a pure diamond blazing with the invisible light of heaven. Wow, think about that. You know, the first page of the Bible, we're made in the image and likeness of God. That there's that divine spark at the center of our existence, belongs to God. And that's something that we may not pay a whole lot of attention to, and yet it is very real. This is what the British theologian C.S. Lewis once said about being human and about realizing the depths of what it means to be you. It's like, if we could, for one moment, grasp the overwhelming dignity of a human person in its full divine nature, we would kneel down as if before a God. He's talking about every single person on this earth, just like the experience Thomas Merton had when the illusion of separateness was just blown away in his life, and he realized there is no them. There is only us. And that if we realize that, Thomas Merton said, there would be no war, there would be no hatred. If we just realized the dignity we have as human beings. Now, that can be a very healing experience, to realize that you are made in the image and likeness of God. It's no small thing to know that, to experience that, to believe that, to act upon that. Now, St. Peter, writing to the early Christians, his second letter, said this, that we come to share in the divine nature. Do we know what that means? Can we explain it? Can we describe it? No, we can't. But what God has prepared for those who love him is beyond our imagination. But in this event of the Transfiguration, we get a hint of what it means to just be revealed for who we really and truly are. Now, at every Mass, there is a little ritual that you may not pay much attention to that is filled with this mystical realization of who we are and what our destiny is. The priest takes the chalice, which has some wine in it, and he drops a few drops of water. And I watch that water disappear into the wine. And the words are, through the mingling of this water and wine, may we come to share in the divine nature who has humbled himself to share in our human nature. It's a mystery. It's a mystery. It's a mystery we acknowledge in every Eucharist. So, do we enter our adult life wounded? Yes. Does that somehow diminish the spark of divinity which is within each one of us? Not in the least. And that spark of divinity is a healing presence in our life, so that however wounded we may have been entering into our adulthood, we can be slowly, surely healed by realizing what we truly are. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.